What's going on? Welcome back to another edition of Talking Ball. And today we're looking at Walter Clayton. And Walter Clayton, the one word I would use to describe Walter Clayton Jr. is assassin. This guy had like no emotion and was just going out there killing teams left and right, especially in the NCAA tournament. But throughout the season in the SEC, the toughest basketball conference in the 2024-25 season, Walter Clayton was one of the three best players in college basketball. And as a senior, spent his first 2 years at Iona and his last two with Florida. He's 6'3", 195 pounds. Will be 22 when the draft takes place. I really like Walter Clayton. And I know sometimes you can get caught up in the moment of what happens in March Madness, but this guy really made improvements from last year to this year, and I really think is going to have a very good NBA career. So, like I said, what does Walter Clayton do well? He is an elite shot maker. What he did, especially in these games against Maryland and Auburn in the NCAA tournament, where he scored over 30 points in each game, was phenomenal, and he did it in a multitude of ways. He did it with his three-point shot, which was deadly, especially off the dribble with his step back late against Maryland. He did it also against UConn. And then he also did it with his ability when teams were forcing him off the three-point line to explode to the rim and get all the way to the basket. And that was very impressive to me, just his ability to get all the way to the rim. And then this year, moving over to the point guard spot, he really improved as a playmaker. He improved also defensively, where he made an impact, and we're going to get into that in just a moment here. And lastly, I kind of touched on this, but he's just incredibly clutch. So the only reason Florida won the NCAA tournament was Walter Clayton Jr.'s clutch heroics in multiple games throughout the NCAA tournament. And he did that not just in the NCAA tournament, but in the regular season as well. So I think while sometimes we can get caught up in guys' performances in the tournament, Clayton was doing this all year. I think the national media and his performance, frankly, elevated in the tournament, but this guy has been phenomenal all year long. Now, some of the things Clayton may not do great, some concerns for Clayton. He's a little bit older for a draft prospect at 22 going into the NBA. That may impact his top end upside to an extent, but I'm not even sure how much that will. He does turn the ball over a little bit more than you'd like, but even that is a little bit nitpicky because he's still at almost a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. But there were times where he got a little bit careless, even in the NCAA tournament where he played so well. He's a little bit undersized if he's going to play at the two guard spot. As a one, I think he's just fine at 6'3", and because of that, he could be attacked in the postseason as an individual defender. And that is an area where I think he improved, but he still has a little bit of growth to go in terms of his individual defending. But what I was talking about before, in terms of what I thought was impressive from his defense, was what he did in the game against Houston, where if you look at his box score numbers in the game against Houston, not great. He didn't have a tremendous offensive performance. Houston was the best defense in the country, or one of the best, and they did a great job keying in on Clayton and making him taking away his three-point shot, especially early on. But what I loved about Clayton, and it was one of his more impressive performances to me, even though he only had 10 or 11 points, was because he found a way to make an impact in other ways. With his defense, he blocked a couple of shots. His playmaking, he had 6 or 7 assists in this game. And he just never wavered. He always stayed poised. That's why I use that term assassin, because he's got like no emotion, which is kind of awesome. It's very rare these days. It's almost Kawhi-esque. And then I just think Walter Clayton is going to be a first-round pick and going to be a really good pro. So let's look at his stats here. The past 3 years, he really elevated. The past two with Florida. He averaged 18 points a game, about 4 rebounds, 4 assists, over a steal, and half a block. And he did that while shooting 45% from the field, 39% from three, and 87, 88% from the free throw line. I just think his shooting will really translate. He took and made a number of tough shots. If he gets easier looks the next level where he'll have some other guys to create for him, I just think he's going to have a ton of success. And I think he's a guy who is going to go somewhere between, let's say, 10 and 20 in this year's draft. That's at least where I would take him. And their pick falls just in this range. If I am the Orlando Magic and Walter Clayton Jr. is available at pick 16 with their defense and ability to kind of mask some, especially playing with Suggs, mask some of his maybe individual defensive issues, which again he improved on and aren't as bad as you might think. I would be jumping at the gun to take Walter Clayton Jr. at pick 16 if I'm the Orlando Magic. I just think that would be a home run pick, a home run fit. They need someone else who can create their own shot, and most importantly, they need somebody who can hit threes. And I think Clayton checks both those boxes. So I think he'd be a home run pick for the Orlando Magic. And I'm curious, what do you guys think? Where do you think he will go? Who else do you want to see me profile here at Talking Ball? Until next time, peace.